Looks like somebody's been baking homemade zucchini bread. Hashtag breads 2023. Stay tuned and I'll be sharing with you how I bake homemade zucchini bread. Welcome back to the Cozy Cottage Homestead. Today I'm going to be participating in a collaboration called Hashtag Breads 2023, hosted by Jamie's at Jamie's Country Living. Go check out the playlist. There's lots of wonderful bread recipes, all different kind, from sandwich bread to dessert bread. You name it, there's a little bit of everything. So today I'm going to be making one of my family's favorite homemade zucchini bread. Very simple recipe, very easy to make. The number one thing is to make sure you have some fresh frozen or fresh dehydrated zucchini. During the garden season, I like to freeze it, and I'll show you that. I like to shred it. I know I'm going to need 2 cups of shredded zucchini, so I freeze it in 2-cup bags to make it throughout the winter until the next garden season. I usually put back about maybe 12 2-cup bags. And I also put in the freezer some zucchini that's been put in the blender with just a little bit of water. I also measure it out in 2-cup measurements as well. I use this for my bread too, and soups, stews, smoothies. So sometimes we don't know what to do when we get blessed with a lot of zucchini coming in from the garden. But there's really a lot of stuff you can do with zucchini as well. So let me stick this back in the freezer because I'm going to be using the shredded zucchini for this recipe. And then we'll get right to it. Okay, first thing we have to do is get 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of oil. I know it sounds like a lot of sugar and a lot of oil, but it's going to make 2 really nice loaves of zucchini bread. So we have our 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of oil, and I'm going to be mixing this by hand. You could definitely use electric blender. So you just want to mix up the vegetable oil and the sugar really good. If y'all can see that. Okay, mix that all together. Now we're going to add 3. Mine are going to be fresh jarred eggs. Our eggs, we have chickens and they are just steel. I made a funny video a while back, but we're getting almost 2-3 dozen eggs a day. It's a blessing having the eggs. We have limed some of them to preserve for later. And we also freeze them. And I have a video on that if anyone's interested, on how we preserve them for the freezer as well. But I just wanted to crack them in a bowl first. I was pretty sure they were all okay. Then put them in the bowl. And then we're going to give that a good whisking up, mixing up too. I need to move my towel over here. I have this one sitting underneath the zucchini, so I forgot where it was. And I'm always wiping my hands. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this mixed up. And I'm going to go ahead and stop at this point and move the camera so where y'all can see what I'm doing instead of guessing at what it looks like. So let me go ahead and do that. Alrighty, that's much better. And these eggs, y'all, they are so rich and so beautiful. So that was 3 fresh eggs. Now we're going to add 3 teaspoons of vanilla. This is homemade vanilla. And we're going to give that a stir. Now we're going to add all of our dry ingredients, the rest of the dry ingredients. 3 cups of flour, that is 3 teaspoons of the vanilla. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and a 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. And we're going to add the 2 cups of the zucchini towards the end. Alright, so let's go ahead and add some of the flour. I'm going to add probably about half of it. Give it a stir. It's going to get very thick, so you get a really good workout. And I'm going to go ahead and add some of the cinnamon, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. You could mix it up first in a bowl and then add it, but it's just easier just for me to just add it as I go. So that's how I do it. And it's going to get really, really thick, so I'm probably going to have to switch over to my spoon here in a minute, because this whisk is just not going to be able to handle it. Okay, let's find a place to set this. I'm going to go ahead and add our chopped nuts. That's a 1/2 cup. Go ahead and add the rest of my flour. And I'm going to add my zucchini. The zucchini is going to add a lot of moisture to it. It's going to be a very thick batter. Well, I don't want to leave nothing left in there. I want to get all of it out. Some of it was sticking on me. Right. Let's get all of this finished mixed together. Y'all can see this is extremely thick. See, it might confuse you and make you think that it's too thick, but usually it turns out perfect. And I know somebody's probably going to ask, do I peel my zucchini before I shred it or blend it? The answer is no. I'll wash it really good. It comes straight from my garden. And I shred it or blend it with the peel, seed, and all. And then I freeze it because I love the little bit of green texture. Y'all probably can see that. The lighting is still not the best in here. But it has a little bit of a green texture, and that's because it's not peeled. And you have a lot of vitamins and minerals and nutritious stuff in the peel of your zucchini. And I don't see any reason to waste that part of my zucchini. So I just shred the whole entire thing. Alright, let's get this into 2 pans. I have 2 loaf pans greased. Just try to eyeball it. Get it as even as you can. Or go back and even it up a little bit. However you need to do it. It's very simple, very easy, and very delicious. Let's see if we can get another one started. And you can preheat your oven to 350 if you want, or you can just turn your oven on at 350. Mine is a gas stove, so I just turn mine on 350 and then go ahead and put it straight into the oven. sorry. I am terrible about not paying attention where the bowl is and looking at the camera. I'm always looking at what I'm working on. I'll have to get better with that. Sorry, y'all. Alright, so we have that in the pans. I'm just going to smooth it out just a little bit. Go ahead and use my finger and scrape all the excess off. I'm going to show y'all a little tip that sometimes when people make bread, it gets really lumpy on top. And that's pretty. It's a good texture. I don't have a problem with that. If you want it to be a little smoother, if you just tap it down just a little bit and shake it, it will get a little smoother. And then your top will be a little smoother. And sometimes it smooths out in the oven after it sets. But this batter is really thick, so it's probably not going to smooth out. So if you see like a lump, that was a walnut right there. I'm just going to smooth it with my finger so that it makes a smoother top. I guess y'all can see that. So now it's a lot smoother, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven and bake it at 350 for about an hour, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, y'all, the zucchini bread is out the oven. I make a very simple vanilla glaze. I guess you might call it icing. I'll just tell you what's in it. It's about 1/3 cup of butter, 2 cups of powdered sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. It makes 1 cup. So you put the butter in the little pan, melt the butter, add the sugar, and then add the vanilla and stir. If you like it a little thinner, you could add maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons of water depending on how you want your glaze. This is optional, not really necessary. It just, some people like something a little sweeter, a little glaze on top. Makes it more of a dessert type of bread. I've done it both ways and it's really good. I would say our favorite way to eat it is just with some butter on it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out. Still very hot. I made the glaze about probably 10 minutes before I thought the bread was going to be ready. It did take an hour to bake. You want your glaze to stay hot until you, or not hot, but just, it's going to stay hot for a little while. It'll stay hot for the 10 minutes or so until your bread's ready to come out the oven. And then put you a piece of wax paper underneath your drying rack, because if you don't, it's going to make a mess. It's probably still going to make a mess anyway. So this is still hot. You can either frost in it with the glaze or just drizzle it, however you can do it. It doesn't have to be perfect or pretty or whatever. So everybody just does it their own way. I think I'm just going to smear some on the top, and then I'm going to flatten it out. If you make it a little thinner, of course, it'll go a little further. I'm just going to kind of let it go all over on the top. And it will make 2 loaves, definitely 2 loaves. If you make it a little thinner, it will go a little further. Just depends on how you want to do it. So it's kind of like a glaze, kind of like a frosting, kind of like a icing, I don't know. It just makes it taste good. It's going to taste good by itself anyway. And if you don't want the extra sugar, then just don't put it. And you can change up the glaze. If you don't want it to be vanilla, you could use almond or lemon or something else like that. However you want to do it. And if I would have made it a little bit thinner, I could have just like drizzled it all over on top. And sometimes I do that. But this time I just kind of want to just put a little bit on there just to sweeten it up a little bit. And like I said, this is totally optional. You don't have to put all the extra on it. It depends on what you're making the bread for. Now, if I was putting this straight into the freezer, I would not put a glaze on it. I would not even worry about a glaze at all. And that's how we usually do it. We make one bread to eat today or through the next couple of days, and then I put one in the freezer. So zucchini bread does freeze very well, as so most other breads freeze well too. Just make sure you wrap it up really good in freezer paper, and then stick it in a freezer bag, and you can pull it out whenever you want within 6 months or so, and it'll be fresh just like you baked it the day you baked it. So this has been a collaboration with Jamie's Country Living. Go check out the playlist. It is hashtag breads 2023. There is a lot of wonderful breads, a lot of wonderful people, really good content out there. We have a really good community of really pretty closely like-minded Christians, homesteaders, people that just work from home, people that like to bake. I personally do a lot of different types of videos, most related to homesteading, from in the kitchen to out in the yard to out in the pasture with the animals, you name it. Gardening, I do just about all of it. So if that kind of stuff interests you, I would love to have you stick around. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, leave a friendly comment, and go check out all those other lovely bread recipes. And thanks for joining me today at the Cozy Cottage Homestead. So farewell, Homestead family, friends, and neighbors from the Cozy Cottage Homestead. Alright, let's go ahead and give this a slice so we can see the beautiful texture. She might not be the prettiest on the outside, but I know she's going to be wonderful on the inside. You can see the walnuts, a little bit of the texture of the zucchini, and just enough little bit of a sweetness on the top. Very moist, very much an old-fashioned type of bread. Very delicious.